Most people believe that a lack of discipline is a character flaw, a weakness, a shameful trait, something that some possess and others simply don't. However, this perspective is completely misguided. What few people realize is that discipline, as it is commonly understood, contradicts the way the human brain is wired to function. And this isn't a metaphor, it's a neurobiological reality. The brain didn't evolve to prioritize long-term objectives, abstract ambitions, or heroic self-restraint. It evolved for one purpose: immediate survival. Over millions of years, humans adapted to preserve energy, pursue instant gratification, and sidestep unnecessary exertion. In other words, your brain doesn't want you to hit the gym. It wants you to remain on the couch because that conserves energy. It doesn't want you to write that article or dive into your studies. It wants you to scroll through TikTok because dopamine arrives faster. And this isn't a defect. It's simply biology. The challenge is that modern society demands precisely the opposite. To flourish, we're expected to be disciplined, productive, and consistent. But this creates an internal battle. On one side, a brain that has been shaped to act like a lazy hunter-gatherer. On the other, a world that demands behavior from a focused and resilient supercomputer. When someone tries to force discipline through sheer willpower, they are in practice trying to overcome millions of years of evolutionary programming with a handful of motivational phrases. And guess what? It doesn't work, at least not for long. James Clear, author of the bestseller Atomic Habits, revealed one of the deepest insights about modern human behavior. Real discipline does not come from force. It comes from design. The most consistent people, those who seem disciplined, are actually not stronger or more motivated. They have simply created systems and environments that make the right behavior easy, automatic, and inevitable. They do not fight against the brain, they engineer it. In the next few minutes, we will dismantle the illusion of discipline, expose the mistakes you didn't even know you were making, and build together a new way of thinking and acting, a smarter way, more human, more effective. If you have ever felt weak for procrastinating, if you have ever hated yourself for not being able to stick to your own plans, this video will not judge you. It will show you that you were just trying the wrong way, and now, finally, you will understand the right way. Part 1. The brain's survival mode. Discipline as a concept seems simple in theory. Just want something enough, stay focused, and resist temptation. But when we look at how the human brain actually works, we realize that this view is not only simplistic but completely naive. This is because your brain is not interested in your long-term goals. It is focused on survival, comfort, and energy efficiency. And if you don't understand this, you will live in conflict with it. For most of human evolution, our ancestors lived in hostile environments where resource scarcity was the norm and the only priority was to survive until the next day. In this scenario, the brain adapted to prioritize immediate rewards. Eating now was more important than storing for later. Sleeping more was safer than exposing oneself to risks. Avoiding effort meant conserving energy for critical moments. The brain was calibrated generation after generation to seek the quickest, most pleasurable, and least costly path. And guess what? This software still runs in you today. When you try to wake up early to hit the gym, your brain interprets this as a threat to comfort and energy conservation. When you open your laptop to study or work on a project, it immediately suggests that you just take a quick look at social media, because there, pleasure is instant, predictable, and guaranteed. Going to the gym, reading a technical book, writing an article that requires effort without immediate reward. The brain hates that. And here's the most important detail. Your brain is not rational. It is efficient. It does not choose what is best in the long term, but what requires less energy right now. This is what neuroscience calls cognitive ease, the brain's tendency to always choose the path of least resistance. And this choice is not conscious. It happens even before you decide. The problem, therefore, is not a lack of willpower. It is a design conflict. Your brain wants to survive and feel good now. You want to evolve and grow in the long term. And as long as these two goals are not reconciled, you will continue to feel frustrated, tired, and unsuccessful. James Clear sums this up brilliantly. Motivation is overrated. Environment is more important. In other words, if you constantly need to rely on willpower, it means you are fighting against the natural structure of your brain, and that is a battle you will lose always, because over time, fatigue wins. And when you are tired, your brain goes back to autopilot, and the autopilot always chooses the easiest path. If you really want to change, the first step is not to try harder. The first step is to understand what you're dealing with. And now that you know your brain is programmed to sabotage any attempt at forced discipline, an inevitable question arises. What if the problem is not you, but the environment you live in? If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button. Thank you for your support. Part 2. Engineering your environment. Now that you understand that your brain is designed to seek the easiest path, we need to look at the true battleground where this decision takes place, the environment around you. Most people believe that self-control is an inner strength, a kind of moral muscle that just needs to be strengthened. But the truth, as James Clear revealed, is much more uncomfortable. Self-control is fragile, and it crumbles in the face of a poorly designed environment. Think about this. You decide to start working out. You are motivated, determined, ready to change your life. But when you wake up, your workout clothes are crumpled at the bottom of the drawer. Your sneakers are in the trunk of the car. It's cold outside. Meanwhile, the couch is 3 steps from the bed. Your phone is in your hand, and Instagram is already open. The choice is no longer between good and bad. The choice is between what is available and easy and what is hidden and laborious. And the brain, as we have seen, always chooses what requires less effort. That is the real problem. You are trying to change your behavior while maintaining an environment that encourages the opposite. And this is where the concept that has changed the way thousands of people understand discipline comes in: choice architecture. This term, used by Clear, shows that human behavior is shaped by what is closest, most accessible, and most visible. It's not a matter of strength, it's a matter of behavioral engineering. Want an example? In a study cited by Clear, the simple change of position of water bottles in a cafeteria, placing them at the front instead of the back, increased water consumption and reduced soda consumption without any motivational campaign or prohibition. What changed? The environment. The decision became easier. And when a healthy decision becomes the simplest option, the brain does not resist. It follows. Now imagine applying this to your own life. Want to read more? Leave the book on the bed, not in the drawer. Want to stop getting distracted by your phone? Turn off notifications. Hide the device. Use blocking apps. Want to wake up and work out? Leave your clothes ready next to the bed, as if you were setting a trap, but this time against your own laziness. Because deep down, this is what you need to understand. Discipline does not come from effort. It comes from preparation. Disciplined people are not stronger. They are smarter in how they set up their space, their rituals, and their triggers. They know that when the right environment is set up, good behavior becomes almost inevitable. They do not rely on motivation. They create a system where the right behavior requires less energy than the wrong one. And that is the key. You need to stop relying on self-control and start designing your environment as if you were an engineer of your own mind. A behavior that requires conscious effort today can become automatic tomorrow if it is well anchored in the environment. Part 3. Habit stacking, hijacking your autopilot. So far, you have understood 2 brutal truths. Your brain is biologically programmed to avoid effort, and your environment shapes your behavior more than your willpower ever could. But even with these 2 ideas in mind, an inevitable question arises. How in practice can you transform desirable habits into automatic behaviors? How do you move from intention to execution without relying on motivation, which is volatile and weak? The answer lies in one of the most powerful strategies revealed by James Clear: habit stacking. The human brain operates based on habit loops, which involve 3 parts: cue, routine, and reward. And these loops are already operating in you, even if unconsciously. You brush your teeth when you wake up. You check your phone when you sit on the couch. You have coffee as soon as you enter the kitchen. These actions require no effort because they are already part of the automatic structure of your behavior. What habit stacking proposes is simple yet brilliant. Instead of trying to create a new habit from scratch, you connect it to an existing habit. This way, you leverage a cue that is already rooted in your brain to implant a new desired action with much less resistance. For example, after brushing your teeth, automatic habit, you meditate for 2 minutes. After preparing breakfast, you write a page in your journal. After locking the front door, you repeat a focus affirmation for the day. This sequence creates a kind of neural coupling. The brain starts to automatically associate the new behavior with the old one. You are, in practice, hijacking the automatic routine to engineer discipline. And why does this work so well? Because you eliminate the biggest barrier, the start. Initiating an action requires more mental energy than maintaining it. Once you are in motion, inertia works in your favor. Habit stacking creates momentum. And momentum, more than willpower, is what keeps behaviors consistent over time. But be careful. This method requires a strategic approach. You cannot stack just any habit anywhere. The new action needs to be short, start small, with something that takes less than 2 minutes. Clear, it needs to be specific, not vague. Read a page, not read more. Immediate, it should happen right after the previous habit, without pause. If you follow this logic, you will be creating mental tracks that make discipline inevitable. You will no longer have to decide if you want to do it. Your body will simply do it. And that is the true victory, when the right action happens before doubt arises, before laziness sets in, before rationalization convinces you to give up. Part 4. Identity-based transformation. After everything that has been said, it becomes clear that what we call discipline is not an innate virtue, nor a mystical talent reserved for a few enlightened ones. Discipline, in fact, is a side effect, a natural consequence of a well-designed system, an intentional environment, and a solid identity. When all these elements are aligned, acting in a disciplined manner ceases to be a constant effort and becomes your new normal. But there is an even deeper, more structural point that needs to be understood. No change in habit, routine, or behavior will truly last if there is no change in how you see yourself. And that is the true core of transformation. James Clear argues that the deepest level of behavior change is not what you want to achieve, but who you decide to be. Identity shapes habits, and habits reinforce identity. It's a cycle. If you want to be a disciplined person, you need to start acting like someone who believes they are disciplined. Small daily decisions, seemingly insignificant, are votes of affirmation in the direction of a new identity. Every time you train, even when you don't feel like it, every time you choose to read instead of scrolling through your feed, every time you execute, even for 2 minutes, you are telling yourself, I am the kind of person who does what needs to be done. And this is more powerful than any motivational video, any technique, or any elaborate plan, because you are not just trying to act differently. You are becoming someone different, and when identity changes, behavior follows as a natural consequence. Therefore, real discipline is not the ultimate goal. It is merely the reflection of a mind that has learned to play the right game, of someone who has stopped fighting against their own brain and started to design a path of least resistance for the correct behavior, of someone who understands that they don't need to win by force, they just need to win by structure. So if you've made it this far, you now have a real choice before you. You can continue blaming yourself for not being strong enough, or you can start today to build the environment, habits, and identity that make discipline inevitable. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop punishing yourself for not having infinite willpower. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent enough to let the system do the work for you. Now I want to know from you, what is the first habit you will redesign starting today? Comment below, because the simple act of writing is already a vote for your new identity. And if this video made you rethink how you view discipline, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because here at Mind Alchemy we go deeper than just ready-made phrases.